All right, Vlookup and Hlookup. The reason why I'm doing these two together is primarily for two reasons. Number one, they're very, very similar. So if you kind of understand one, you'll understand the theory of how to do the other one. So I'll show them together. But also secondly, because you shouldn't be using either of these. If you're watching this video and you've never done one of these before and you just want to look up and index something, go to the index and match video. It's much better than Vlookup and Hlookup. But if you are insistent on using one of these two, I'll show you how to do it. I feel almost like I'm cheating doing this one because I never use it. I haven't used either of these in years, but I will show you how to do it if I remember correctly. All right, let's have a look and see. Here's your table of data. And essentially what you want to do is you want to be able to look up that value and find the respective value in one of these columns. So let's start with the Vlookup. So because you're looking up vertically, and when I say looking up vertically, it means you're looking in that column to find a number, and then you want to see that value returned. Because you're looking up vertically, that's the Vlookup. So let's use the Vlookup first, and we start by putting it equals and Vlookup. Then you open your brackets. This is which lookup value do you want, or what are you basically using to look up. So here we can put in the row 5. So we want to actually have a look at that one, and we want to find one of these respective values. So we put in the 5. Can lock that in place. We don't need to for the sake of this one. I'll just leave it as it is. And then it says, what is a table array? So now we do the table that we want to look up. But what you need to do in Vlookup, and this is where it's different to the index and match, is you need to actually include the column where you're actually looking up the item. So you include that one. We don't include the headers. We just include the column we're looking up and then the data. And then we say table array, and then we say column index number. So which column is it? That's the first one. That's the second one. That's the third one. That's the fourth one. So let's say we want to look up in the second one. So then we say 2. And then last but not least, if we start typing false, we see true is an approximate match, false is an exact match. I mean, if you want it to be true, that's fine for an approximate match, but let's just go for exact. And enter. Now what we see is when you look up number 5 in that column, the second column of the table we did, number 2 is the answer. So that is giving you the lookup. Hlookup, almost exactly the same. Let's have a look at Hlookup equals Hlookup. Look up value. Now we're looking up the column because we want to look up those values. Because remember, instead of looking up vertically, we're looking up horizontally. We're looking up that way. So when it says look up values, we want to look up the column. All right, we don't need to lock that. Table array. Now we do the same thing again, but this time we include the headers where we actually are doing the lookup. Row index number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's say we want to do this one, the same one as we did before. So it's number 6. And then lookup value false. Again, because we want an exact match. And then enter. Now, if we go with this is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's that one, that same row as we got, but it is in column C, which is the one that we've got over there. So it's giving us number 10. If we change that to column D, column B, I don't know why it wasn't working. Change it to column B, then it says 4. Change it to C, and it says 10. And if we go back to the Vlookup where we had 2, if we said actually, let's rather, instead of having a look at row 5, let's have a look at row 9 and 10. So that is how Vlookup and Hlookup work. But as I said, you probably shouldn't be using them. Index and match is a much better option. The other thing is, what some people will argue, is that Vlookup and Hlookup, instead of just putting in 2 here, we could put what we call a nested formula, where we put in another formula to calculate that 2 in order to do a better lookup from a point of view of not just counting the number of rows or columns or rows, depending which one you do. But then, in all fairness, if you're going to be putting a nested formula in there, you may as well just use the index and match anyway, because there are some other hang-ups with Vlookup and Hlookup. For example, if I come in here later on and insert a row here, then all of a sudden it's looking at the wrong number in the table and it gets confused, and that will break it down. Also, if I come here afterwards and say, actually, this row, this column, I'd like to move across there, then again, that breaks it down, whereas an index and match would still work. And then the other thing is a VLOOKUP can only look up left to right, whereas index and match can look up left to right, right to left. So if you're going to use a nested formula in index and match in VLOOKUP, you may as well use index and match. It's much better. Even with the simpler format, I would still use index and match. But if you do insist on using VLOOKUP or HLOOKUP, I hope that has helped you. Thank you very much.